Hello, everyone. This is Zach Snipes with Shoreline Restoration Group. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about pond buffer maintenance on some of these shoreline plantings that we've done on these stormwater ponds. So, the first thing is, what is the shoreline buffer? If you aren't familiar, we've planted a lot of shoreline buffers in a lot of neighborhoods. A shoreline buffer is about a 3 to a 10-foot wide planting of native plants along the edge of a pond. We plant these plants for aesthetics. It looks good, but really the reason we're planting these is for functionality. So a shoreline buffer plants can anchor the soil, which prevents erosion, so we don't get sloughing off of the banks into the pond. When we do that, that keeps our ponds functioning properly. They're able to store stormwater during a major rain event. And they're also able to clean the water a lot more effectively before the water goes into the pond. And as an added benefit, they do look good and create wildlife habitat. But remember, these buffers are for functionality. They're really there for cleaning the water and then holding the soil so it doesn't fill up the pond. So managing some expectations along your shoreline buffer. These shoreline buffers are landscaping features, but they're not a pristine landscape like you may be used to. So these shoreline buffers will have weeds in them. We need to define what we call a weed or rethink about what we call a weed. In the case of these shoreline buffers, any plant that's growing there that's doing well, that typically is a native, is going to be anchoring the soil a lot better than grass or turf would. Therefore, what most people would call a weed, we call a plant that's actually anchoring the soil, cleaning the soil, and holding it so it doesn't go into the pond. Other things that we hear people say that the shoreline buffers look dead during the colder months. Well, a lot of the plants we plant are natives and they do go dormant during the winter. However, they're still functioning to hold that soil in place and clean water and slow the flow of water from going into the pond during rain events. So even though they look dead, they're just dormant, and all that material that the plant will eventually shed, just like a tree sheds its leaves, will fall into the shoreline buffer and actually help rebuild the bank over time. Another thing we hear is the stakes and core logs being visible. They will be hidden with time. So within 2 to 3 years, the native plants that we have will actually start filling in and growing in the core matting, in the core logs, and covering up some of the stakes. So within time, if you're patient, they will go away. And the cool thing about these buffers is they get better every single day. So every single day that they're out there, they're going to grow and fill in, anchor the soil better. They're going to clean the water better. They're going to get better with time. So just be patient. They will get better. So as a homeowner living on one of these stormwater ponds, how can you help us? Well, the first thing you can do is report any issues to your HOA leadership. If we have a failing system or a log gets broken or whatever, we need to know about it so we can come fix it. And then the second thing is just enjoy cleaner ponds and more wildlife around your ponds. We see a lot of dragonflies. Of course, you're going to see turtles. We see a lot of really cool species of ducks and birds. And a lot of cool songbird species actually use the seeds of the flowers of these plants when they go dormant in the winter. So enjoy the wildlife that's there, and just let us know what you like on these ponds. Another thing as a homeowner you can do, if you feel so inclined, is these buffers do stop a lot of trash and debris. So if you are feeling spunky and want to remove some beer cans or plastic that blows into these buffers, we found some really interesting stuff. Here's a beach ball. So you can remove some of this debris. Again, you don't have to, but it helps us out and it keeps your pond looking nice if you do. Another thing, and this is probably the take-home point of this video, is these buffers, especially or particularly when they're first installed for the first couple seasons, the plants are very, very hard to see. And so we put out flags. I know the flags are kind of an eyesore, but just give it time. We will remove the flags within time. But stay to the side of your house or your fence outside of the flags. Do not go inside of the flags towards the pond. That's where our plants are. Some of these plants, particularly on the last couple rows, are native grasses, and so they look like grass. And so your landscapers or you may accidentally run them over or mow them, which is not going to be good. So please, 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 if you see flags, leave them and stay on the outside of the flags mowing. The stuff on the inside of the flags towards the pond will grow up over time, and it will be easily distinguishable over time. So here's another photo of some flags. So here, within time, this is a planting we did 2 years ago. You will see there's a clearly defined mowed area, and then the area where you have our shoreline plant. So in time, it's going to look like this, and you can remove the flags, and it's not an issue. But those first couple years are critical to let those plants grow so they can get this size. Here's another example of a clearly defined buffer where the grass is mowed to the edge. All right, so what are we at SRG doing? We're doing quarterly maintenance on a lot of these ponds. What that means is we'll come out and do removal of trash and debris. We'll hand remove invasive species, woody species that are aggressive, and any other unwanted species. We'll also spot spray some herbicides in very, very specific situations where we have a very aggressive species that we need to get on top of quick. And then we are also assessing the overall function of the buffer to make sure it's working like it should. So I just want to go over some aggressive natives that you folks might see in your buffers. Please don't go in and try to manage these yourself. We are contracted to do this, and so we'll take care of this. And so we don't want you pulling out some good plants, because you can confuse the good plants from the bad plants. But these are natives, but they're aggressive, and we really don't want them in our plantings. Dog fennel being one of those. Cattail is a native wetland plant. It does look like some of the irises we plant. The difference is cattail is a lot taller, and the leaves of the cattail plant are always twisted. So that's how we tell. Cattail is one of the ones that we have to cut, and then we'll paint an herbicide on the stump of the cattail in order to kill it. But again, it grows a lot of times mixed in with our irises, so it takes a really good trained eye to know which one to kill and which one not. Cedar elm is one we see popping up. It's a woody species, and again, it's a great native, but we don't want it in our buffers because it'll turn into a big tree that could potentially be a big problem later down the road. Groundsel or saltbush is one that is extremely aggressive, and once you let it get in there, it will take over a pond. So we go in and manage these. Some vines that can grow over and kind of take over are morning glory, hemp vine, and Virginia creeper. We all go through those and make sure that we're taking those out. And then the worst offender of all is an invasive species, the popcorn tree or Chinese tallow. We are always on the look for these, and we take these out immediately when we see them, because they will take over, and they are not good to have in your pond. So again, the take-home message from all this is do not mow. That's the biggest offender that we see on these pond buffers, especially when the plants are young, is folks mowing. So respect the flags. Please leave the flags. Stay out of the flags. Talk to your landscapers. If you mow, just stay on the outside of the flags, and I promise within time it will look good. Anyway, thank you guys, and please let us know if you have any questions. Bye-bye.